Okay, we're about to get started. We're going to get everything caught up here. We have a great informational class for you today. Okay, so if you go to my YouTube channel at Ariel Policano, you can watch this being live streamed. Hello to everybody who's watching on the live stream. Please like and share our live stream, our class for today. My name is Ariel Policano. I'm a naturopathic doctor, and I teach and train about the genius. So I teach the principles of energy medicine, which we're going to be talking a lot about today. We're also going to be talking about the chakras, the energy centers of the body. So if you've ever worked on that particular panel, you'll be very interested in some techniques to help you to perfect it and to work on it with more skill, being more adept at working with it. So we're going to talk about that as well. And if you'd like to volunteer, go ahead and put your date of birth. Go ahead and put your date of birth into the chat area, and we're going to get everything started. We're going to talk today about the basic principles of energy medicine. We talked about that a little bit last time, and we're going to get more into it. And today's lecture is going to be based on the work of Richard Gerber in vibrational medicine. So we're going to get into that. We have some slides for you that we're going to get uploaded in just a minute. And then we're going to work on the chakras. So we're going to focus today on the first, second, and third chakra in our lecture. And then next week, we'll take up more of that information for you. So come to class every Monday, or watch it being live streamed, or watch the recording, because we do have a lot of information to share with you. We also have a new report to share with you. We're developing a better reporting function for you, giving you new linkable PDF reports that you can share with your client. So we're going to share that with you today as well. And we have a lot of resources. So Zoom is just not cooperating with me here. And we're going to talk about the principles, as I said, of energy medicine, of frequency, as we did last time. So this is also an opportunity for you to ask questions about your genius. So if you have questions about the genius in particular, now is a great time to ask your questions. So let's just see if we can get this uploaded for you here. We do have, there we go, there's that PDF. So let's see if we can put it into the chat area right here. Let's go ahead and see if we can link it. Okay, so there are some slides there about frequency and energy. We also have the new practitioner report. So, oh, geez, that is not the downloaded version. So we're going to link this in just a second. We have a new report for you that we'll share in just a little bit. And we also have some great processes for you. So let's link those as well. So these are things like the 3 basic process guide, a sleep promotion or sleep deepening, calming yourself, spleen chi harmonizing. We have a bunch of those guides there. So check those guides out as well. And we also have this new page, which tells you all about the genius. So you can link onto this page and share this page with others. It tells you a basic information about the genius. So we're going to answer your questions, anything you want to know. We'll talk about this report coming up. And we also want to go ahead and do that presentation for you. So let's go ahead and we'll minimize these for the moment. All right, so those of you who don't know me or are new to our community, thank you for joining us. We have about probably 10 to 15,000 users around the world using the Genius Biofeedback system, and many of others are receiving sessions from practitioners. Our goal is to make things as easy for you to understand about the genius. And by giving you constant education, both free and paid education, practitioner level education, natural medicine education, everything to help you in your practice or to understand more about what you can use the genius for, how you can utilize it in your practice. So today we're going to do some of that. We're going to just talk about the basics of frequency and energy. And a lot of this information comes from Vibrational Medicine by Richard Gerber. So you may want to pick that book up or listen to it on audiobook, things like that. That would really be helpful. I think the more that we talk about what frequency and energy are, I'll be back in the frame in a second here, what frequency and energy are, the easier it is for you to understand why the genius does what it does. As Greg Braden once said, the reason we don't understand these principles of the quantum universe is because we were not taught the quantum universe. We were taught maybe the story that isn't quite correct in that third dimensional reality. So we want to relearn that information. In the meantime, you can volunteer for a scan by putting your date of birth in. We're going to work on the chakras. You can also ask questions, anything you want to know about the genius. The only thing we say is that if your genius is there's an issue at all, just send us a message, support@geniusbiofeedback.com. Those of you who know us know we're very quick to get back with you. So with that, let's just go ahead and talk a little bit about vibrational medicine by Richard Gerber and just about the energy field in general. So one of the great things that we learn when we learn about the truth about the human body is that we're much more wave than we are particle. We're much more energy. We're much more light. We're much more movement of energy in the channels, the meridians, the chakras, subtle energy called the nadis, which is talked about by in Ayurveda, in the Indian tradition. So these are all energy channels. We're all about moving energy. So this energy, what was required typically to move energy is electricity. And so it turns out we're electrical beings and we can be influenced by electricity. In fact, we're constantly being influenced by frequencies, which are electrical energy around us at all times. And we're generating this electrical energy. So this energy can be shifted and changed in certain ways. And that's what the genius really is all about. It's giving you a way to move energy in a very specific way. And even more than that, it's very specific to your intention. So how you want to move energy in the most amazing way, because there are so many different frequencies on the genius and ways that you can direct that energy. So if you think about this quote here, subtle energies influence cellular patterns of growth in both positive and negative directions. And you think about the book, the works of Dr. Masaru Emoto, Hidden Messages in Water, saying things like, I love you, and then seeing the water change, and saying things like, I'm so angry, and then seeing the water be a very amorphous or gray pattern. But when you say, I love you, thank you, I'm so grateful, the water is a beautiful crystalline pattern. And think about how we are that water. And so a lot of what's happening for the human body to stay healthy or to deteriorate into disease has to do with patterns. And these patterns are influenced by electrical energy. So these electrical energies could be words that you're speaking. It could be things that you're hearing, words that people are saying to you. So you want to be very selective about who you associate with. It could be music that you're listening to. It could be frequencies that you're listening to. So you're becoming aware of how these electrical energies not only influence you, oh gosh, how you're feeling, but they are literally influencing your cells. Okay, subtle energies influence cellular patterns of growth in both positive and negative directions. And as you think about that, you may even think about experiments that have been done with seeds or vegetables, right? Where they were maybe microwaved or given they weren't given the same type of energy, or they weren't played music, and the plant didn't grow in the same way as the plant that had the music that was played, or the plant that wasn't exposed to the microwave, the seeds weren't microwaved. Those types of things, they're influencing patterns of growth. So how do you want your body to grow? How do you want the cells to grow? How do you want the tissue to grow? You have a choice, right? You could be affected by good words. You could be affected by uplifting music. You could be affected by these different Hertz frequencies, Hertz, these different frequencies that we use. And we utilize all types of things within the frequencies, such as affirmations, words that are translated into frequencies, or homeopathic remedies, all of these things that you can utilize and select from the genius. So why really do we do this is we want to shift the patterns. If you're sick now, if you're not feeling well, that is a frequency state. As you shift the frequency and you listen to the optimal frequencies for a certain system or a certain organ, your body entrains those frequencies and it aligns and becomes one with that new frequency, especially if your intention is to be well. And then the disease state falls away, can no longer be supported in that beautiful network of new frequency energy that you have entrained either from the genius or in some other way, either through listening to words or different types of frequency generators. The thing that's unique about the genius is it informs you about the frequencies that you most need today, the ones that you're resonating with the most, that will give and have the most impact for you personally. So frequency, thought, music, these are all changing also our consciousness, who we are as a spirit being, who we are as a sort of a wave or as light. And so consciousness can also be changed. It's the same idea, a little bit of a higher idea than that we're just electrical electrons, but we're actually consciousness. We're a very sophisticated form of subtle energy. And so our consciousness, of course, can be influenced by the words that we're speaking. And the body is also listening and is being changed through consciousness, through our emotional state, through our connection to spirit, through the nutrition that we're eating. All of these things are ultimately shifting us, but frequency and energy can shift this consciousness as well. I wanted to share with you some of the research that's been done over the years. And it turns out that in Korea in the 1960s, okay, now this is actually a little bit different. We're going to get to the Korean study in a moment. This is Dr. Harold Burr at Yale University, was one of the first ones to identify the electrical field around the body, which we also refer to as the etheric field. And so he did an experiment. He found that he could identify, measure, and show the measurement of an electrical field around salamanders, and that electrical field was lined up. It's sort of, there was an axis to the electrical field that started around the brain, went down the spinal cord, and he even found an electrical field around an unfertilized egg. So an egg having a consciousness, having an etheric field, something we're talking about in the business membership, talking about the memories, the cellular memories and traumas that can happen from conception to the birth experience. So very similar. The reason that we talk about this is because a lot of times we have said, well, these things can't be seen. How do we know that these fields are being changed? And so we want to establish that, in fact, there has been scientific research to show and identify the electrical field around the body. And just as all things are frequency, these frequencies can be changed and shifted in some way. Okay, so electrical fields can be influenced and changed. That's the whole reason to talk about this. And we use the generated frequencies of the genius. We listen to them, or we might be close, or they can be broadcasted out in a remote fashion. And that is another thing we'll talk about in an upcoming class. We will talk about the evidence behind remote healing, things like Reiki, and why the genius is able to do this remote. And part of it is your intention as well. Your intention combined with the genius makes the genius more powerful. So as you're working on yourself or you're working on other people, your attention, even your knowledge base, can help to expand. So that's why we have all the natural medicine classes in the practitioner levels. We have 1 through 8, all different topics of natural health, but also just your clear intention and even your wish, right, for that person to be improved, for yourself to be improved. This is combining and adding to the power that would not be the same of the genius on its own. So it is really a partnership of your intention and the genius frequencies. After you play the genius frequencies, you may note that you feel more clear-headed, that when you went to bed at night, you slept better, that you were able to feel more creative or just calm during the day. And we did a study that if you go to start here at geniusbiofeedback.com and you see that page, there's a video linked where Thornton Streeter did a study about the stress factors. And in his study, he was able to show that the genius decreases stress factors in the body. So you are changed. If you've ever felt better after a genius session, there is something with those frequencies, with those coherent frequencies, that is calming you down, that is shifting you in some significant way. We also know about the field, that the field can now be visualized. So I'm sure many of you on here have heard of Kirlian photography. And Kirlian photography allows us to take pictures of people, objects, and show the electrical field. So now we can see the electrical field, and we can even use the electrical field around the fingertips. This is called the coronal discharge pattern of the human fingertips, taken in Kirlian photography, can tell us about the energetic state of the individual. So there's powerful information, but we know for sure now that there is a field, electricity around the body. So science has shown that. And we know that also from EKG, EEG, those things are all measuring electrical activity of the body, of the heart, of the brain. And we know that there's actually an entire field around the body. We also know that there's energy flow around the chakras and energy flow through the meridians, and science has actually backed that up. So the interesting thing about the Chinese elders, the ones who laid down the tradition of Chinese medicine, is they didn't use autopsy, didn't use dissection of bodies. They didn't go inside. They weren't invasive. They didn't even really use surgery, but they recognized the flow of the body through the pulse, through the tongue, through even listening to the voice. And they were able to make determinations about where the energy was blocked. And so through this, because they understood that the body had a sophisticated energy flow that was going through the body that either would be impeded or could be facilitated. So there's so much energy flowing through the body. It's quite amazing. So we're probably much more wave than we are particle. We're probably much more energetic than we are physical. And so these energetics can be really shaped so that we can become anything that we want. We can do or manifest anything we want because of this electrical energetic nature of the human body. So what about science and the meridians? There actually is some scientific evidence now that the meridians exist. We know that the meridians are 12 pairs, right? There are 12 pairs of meridians connected to specific structures and connected to specific organs. And of course, the meridians are influenced by the genius. We have specific meridian frequencies of not only the entire meridian, but the meridian points themselves to, in some ways, do what acupuncture seeks to do in a less invasive way, just through basically running the energy to open up the particular point or to open up the meridian. So this is where we had the study in the 1960s by Professor Kim Han in Korea. And he did an experiment to show that if you put a radioisotope at an acupoint, that you could follow the isotope, and it did in fact flow through the body through the in a pattern that was matching the meridian system. So they could actually see the movement of this tracker, and it moved through what the Chinese had defined or laid out as the meridian system. So science now is able to establish that these meridians are not just the imagination or something the Chinese thought up, fiction, that these really do exist, and that these may have blockages or points where the energy is no longer flowing. And these energetic blocks can be created often through the emotional state of that person, or through nutrition, lack of oxygen, toxic exposures. All of these things are going to, or injuries are going to change the meridian flow. There was another study done recently that used radioactive technetium, and this is just another evidence. The report, if you read the report from the 1960s, it says after that particular experiment in Korea was not reproducible, and so we've actually reproduced it more recently. So we've shown that this technetium, when injected into a person at an acupuncture point, does indeed move through the body, through the meridian system. So it's really cool to see that these actual physical evidence of the different energetic systems of the body. So all of the body is energy and vibration. It's electrical flow. There are certain flow patterns. There are areas of the body and patterns and areas that the body flows through. And when that energy becomes blocked or impeded, it is very likely that we start to experience disease. We just don't have the incredible flow. It would be like a short in an electrical system and the power going out. So how do we keep the flow going? How do we keep the power moving and balanced and organized? So part of that is through your nutrition, your thoughts. Part of it is through exercise, drinking water, eating good food, meditation. All of those things help the energetic flow. Yoga, of course, qigong. And we can also affect it through frequencies. Royal Rife discovered frequencies that could be beneficial in some ways. These were Hertz frequencies or something called radio frequency. And we utilize that in the Genius. We're able to choose the frequencies that we want in order to move energy in a specific direction. The difference with the Genius is that a lot of these are already pre-programmed into the Genius, so we don't have to go look up, oh, I want this particular Rife frequency. Many of them have already been organized into the Genius to evoke a certain change. So one of the places, so we have all these meridians that have energy and flow, but we also have these chakras in the body, which can be influenced, can be cleared, could be blocked. We can enhance flow, we can impede flow through the energy centers that the Ayurvedic and the Indian seers, the Vedics, the Vedas, they were written about in the Vedas. And we know through these ancient Indian texts, they talk about the wheels or the centers of energy in the human body. Typically, we only talk about 7. It turns out there are chakras all over the body, and we could get into the subtle chakras that are around the spleen and the different organs and all over the body and above the body and below the body. We're going to keep it simple for the chakras that are on the Genius and are typically talked about. And we're just going to talk about 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to get into our volunteers and do some scans and talk about some other things today. So the chakras are known as energy centers, and it's really interesting. The way that we understand chakras, because we talk about them all the time, oh, your chakras are blocked, they're imbalanced, but what are they? It turns out that they are a way that the body is taking in energy from the environment and transmuting it into cellular function, into tissue function, into your endocrine, your hormonal function. So isn't that interesting? We're drawing from the environment around us, right? We're drawing in likely prana, some type of higher energy, or even the electrical frequencies around us are all influencing or changing or going through that chakra system in some way. So energy flows through these points and openings in order to have a real physical effect ultimately in the body. So the movement of subtle energy is transformed in the cellular structure of the body. The chakras are energy transformers. So what type of energy are you surrounding yourself with? That is going to affect the ability of the chakras. In very similar way, if you eat good food, you know your body will function well. If you surround yourself with good energy, the chakras are going to be able to take in that energy and transmute it into cellular function, into strong vital force. All the chakras are connected to a nerve plexus, which is a bundle of nerves. We have the phrenic nerve and the sacral plexus. So it's really interesting that the chakras themselves are connected to physical parts of the body, and specifically each one is connected to a nerve plexus, which is a bundle of nerves, and each chakra is connected to an endocrine gland. And of course, they affect physical function. So right there, many of our Genius users are probably saying, oh, wow, that is really fascinating, because now if we know there's a certain condition, hormonal imbalance, nerve issue, or we know that the nerve is connected to the organ function, let's work at the chakra level, or at least include that chakra in our balancing session in order to make that change or transformation. So the energy of the flow of the chakra must remain open, right? It's like a vortex, and we want to keep the energy of the vortex flowing. Exercise, meditation, helping others, good feelings, being happy, all of these things help to balance the chakras. Let's talk about the specific chakras. And I said we're just going to do 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll get into some other information, do our scan, a couple of scans for the day. So the root chakra is at the base of your tailbone. So this is an energy center. This is a place that energy flows into the body. It's connected to nerves energetically. It's connected to different hormones in the body. And you can use the first chakra in your genius balancing for anyone who's having panic attacks, anxiety, vertigo, worry. It's a center of stability for the person. It's also called the Muladhara chakra. And when you think about things that you want to create with the genius, you can always put that first chakra energy. That energy that is the first chakra on the genius is probably at least 10 or 20 different frequencies that have been programmed into the actual line item that you see that says first chakra. So there's a lot of energetics combined in there when you play that singular frequency. So it's for support, for your career, for manifesting money, even for a sense of belonging. So you can think about these things that you want to create, and you can utilize that first chakra to create those things. And we'll talk about that in a moment. The second chakra is the sacral chakra, and I'm using the Sanskrit name as well next to it. It's called the Swadhisthana chakra. So you can also utilize, you could say Swadhisthana. All the Sanskrit words are very charged with energy, and you can actually even clear out your own chakra by looking at that word and reciting Swadhisthana, Swadhisthana, Swadhisthana. That actually is, you can look into the Sanskrit language. It is a healing language, and that's why they have all the Vedic chants and so forth. So the second chakra is at the lower abdomen, 2 inches below the navel, kind of similar area where they have the dantian, but I think it's not quite exactly the same area. So the second chakra, when you have it balanced, you're open to new experiences. You feel more creative. The second chakra deals with issues around sexuality. So if there was some type of sexual trauma in the past, that second chakra energy may not be flowing until we clear the energy around that trauma. Second chakra is also about a sense of abundance, a sense of well-being, right? And also, opening up that real creative energy. So if you want to write a book or start a new project or do, design your home, decorate your home and so forth, maybe you want to just be running that energy of the second chakra in your quick zap tray in order to create that effect. And so sorry about this. That is actually the solar plexus chakra. So just remember that's the solar plexus chakra. It is around the upper abdomen in the stomach area. It has to do with all of your digestive system, also a sense of confidence, a sense of being able to control your life. There we go. It's called the Manipura chakra. So confidence, control, empowerment, a feeling, a sense of agency that you're able to